when it kicks in.
Let's go.
Hello. Welcome to today's episode. I can't say that. I can never say it. This evening's episode of the UFO Files with myself, Abbie, and our wonderful, amazing guest, Mr. Dave Hodrian. Welcome back.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Fred. Lovely to be back.
Thank you. It's very short notice when I message you. I'm like, please don't be doing anything. So, and luckily for us, you weren't. So thank you again for coming on. Absolute pleasure.
Can't wait.
So, I know. Right. So for those who don't know where you've been, but Dave is the founder of BUFOG.
Not the founder. I'm the chairman now. The chairman.
Oh, chairman. Right.
It was originally founded by two other gents who handed over in 2009 the group to me to run.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. We'll say you're the founder and chairman and everything, CEO of the lot. So Dave does. So the last Thursday of the month, you do host an event in Birmingham. Where you
first Thursday of every month.
First Thursday. I'm going to shut up. I'll let you talk.
To be fair, we were up recording past midnight last night, so our brains are a bit.
Yeah. And then I've done a 10-hour shift in work, and my head's just.
Yeah.
So he's a chairman. He's not the founder. It's the first Thursday, not the last Thursday, where you have guest speakers on and you talk about paranormal, mainly UFOs, but you do cover pretty much all topics of paranormal.
Yep.
You guys, if you've not been, you do need to go. I've been a couple of times. I've been speaking there. I've gone just sitting and listening to other people talk. Great atmosphere. They do a raffle. There's a bar. You can play snooker. There's all sorts. And it's easy parking. Literally park right outside.
I'm sold on the easy parking.
That's
not normally a thing, so that's a luxury.
Just got to get there early.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good night. It's a good event, and it's great. Dave and his missus run it. Is it your dad as well, isn't it?
My dad comes along to the meetings. Yeah. Pretty much always there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of regular people there as well. There's Angela, James Brody. They're the only two that I can think of at the top of my head. But yeah, it's great. Everyone's very welcoming, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely. It's obviously in this day and age, it's a very important part of BUFOG, Birmingham UFO Group for me, is that the live community we've got going. Because after COVID, we essentially got the group back running again after a period of not being able to do the meetings, and it was really good when people started turning up again, and we got that going again, because there's a lot of groups out there that investigate the subject and put things out online, but there's not that many in the UK that have regular meetings, live meetings with it. So it's a very important part of the group for me.
It's a good part of the group, as you say. So many don't do the physical meetings anymore. It's like we had Martin Hicks on last week from the Plymouth UFO Research Group, and they're pretty much defunct and retired now because there isn't that presence, there isn't that meetings, because everything is online now. So it's so amazing to see that you guys are still actually doing that physical meetup, physical night watches, physical talks and stuff like that, which is amazing. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? What case are we delving into?
Well, it's one that came our way earlier this year. It's an absolutely stunning case. So your listeners may have heard of missing time, one of the common aspects that's reported in contact experiences. So if you haven't heard me talk before, one of my fortes in the UFO subject is the contact phenomena, or alien abductions, if you want to call it that. And I've dealt with hundreds of cases around the world over the last 17 years, looking into all aspects of it, and supported many people who are going through these experiences and investigated their cases in depth, documented in reports, etc. And every so often, you get cases come my way which really blow my mind, which really fascinate me. And this is one of those cases. And it's a case that involves what's known as missing time, which is essentially, so in most contact cases, people have fragmented memories. Sometimes it's just little bits here and there where they'll be somewhere and then they'll be somewhere else with no memory of what's gone on in between. Or there might be even gaps in their experience. So it might last for a couple of hours, but they only remember 10 minutes of it for whatever reason, and this sort of thing. And that's extremely common. And sometimes people forget the experience entirely for years. I've dealt with numerous cases where that's happened, and it comes back to them later on, sometimes triggered by something they see that reminds them of it, and then it'll come back to them. Or sometimes even triggered by recollection. So if you've got multiple witnesses, one person might remember the experience, and then they'll go and talk to the other witness about it, and that'll trigger their memory of it, and then they'll remember it, and they'll wonder why on earth they forgot. This is not like, we're not just talking about one case how this has occurred. It occurs pretty regularly through it, and it's quite obviously a relevant aspect of the phenomena. And there's lots of theories about what causes missing time, about, you know, whether it's some sort of natural thing going on with the brain or whether it's something intentional. I would say after looking into these cases in depth, I certainly believe that the latter is true, although as to exactly the reason behind why it's intentionally being done is open to interpretation and opinion on whether you believe that whether what's going on is covert or whether you believe it's benign or malicious or whatever. There's different theories as to why. But this case it's from up near Redbourne, and it actually occurred on Halloween in 2024.
Very recent then.
Yeah, it's quite a recent one. And it involves a couple. And the husband of the couple, he's the one who got in touch with me to discuss it, not just to report the details. Really, he was actually looking for a regressive hypnotherapist because he wanted to explore what had happened to him and his partner in more depth to try to get answers to it.
And that's very brave in itself, because, you know, most people just don't want to know, do they? And it can be very re-traumatizing for them.
Yes, absolutely. So I work with a regressive hypnotherapist in the Birmingham area, and he supports me with cases involving contact. He's got an interest in the subject himself, but he does it professionally. And there's a lot of warnings that go along with regressive hypnotherapy. You know, it's clinically proven that you can get false memories that can occur, especially if your brain tries to sort of fill in the gaps. Like if you've got a big knowledge of contact, you may fill in the gaps with your knowledge of the subject and then not know whether what you're remembering is a real experience or some kind of amalgamation between real things and something your brain's come up with. So it works better if the individual doesn't have that much of a knowledge of the subject. But he reached out to me because of that, and obviously as part of that, I guess he probably thought I was just going to pass on the name to him and that'd be that. But obviously I was intrigued as to what had actually happened to him and his partner, and got in touch. I won't reveal his name because he doesn't want me to reveal his name. I'll only say names when I always count that close to my heart to give the witnesses the privacy they deserve. But he's allowed for the details of what happened to them to go out online. So there's a report on the website, and I'm allowed to openly talk about everything we're going to cover. So this occurred on Halloween 2024, and we're going to start at 6:15 in the evening in St Albans. And him and his partner gone out to meet up with friends and actually go to a supposedly haunted pub, the White Hart. I don't know if you know the White Hart in St Albans. But,
on the roundabout. Yes, I know exactly where it is. It's right near it used to be a Shell garage.
That's right.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, I know it pretty well.
It's sort of down the southern part of St Albans. So they'd gone there to essentially go out for a meal and also a ghost walk in the local area. Now, this is where the link with ghosts ends. By the way, it's kind of moving away from that.
It's fine.
So they got out on Halloween night to do this, have a meal, go out and do this ghost walk and everything. And they went and did that. And by the time they left the pub, it was 8:30. We know that exact time because he took a photograph of one of their friends at the entrance to the pub before they left, and we've checked the time on it, and it was 8:30. They then walked just about a few minutes north to another place called the Snug, another small bar, and they stayed there for one drink. They're pretty convinced what time they left that pub and what time they started to tootle on back down to the car that had been parked a little bit south of the White Hart. So they walked back down to that and said goodbye to their friends. Now, the witnesses are both pretty sure that they left St Albans around 9:30. They didn't check the watch or anything, have the exact time, but they know it was roughly around 9:30.
Yeah.
And they started to make their drive. They live I can't reveal the exact location where they live, but it's in the locality of Redbourne, which is up sort of northwest St Albans. So they started the drive back up north towards it. After about sort of 10 or 15 minutes on the journey, they're driving along Redbourne Road, and they're approaching a garage on the left. And just before they get to the garage, the husband's driving. He notices a glint of light off to his right at the passenger side window, just off to the right of him. And he's about to turn around, and he doesn't know whether it's kind of down on the ground or up in the air yet. But he's distracted by his partner. She points out there's some electric points at the garage, and they used to have an electric charged car. So she points out the blue glow coming from them. I think they've been recently fitted there. And he looks to the left to see the points. And then when he looks back round at the road, the light's no longer there. Yeah, it's gone. Okay. Short distance after the roundabout. Short distance after that is a roundabout and round to the right, and they drive around that to the right. Immediately upon exiting the roundabout, the husband feels a very strange sensation. He described it as kind of snapping his neck to the left and right really, really fast, like something odd, like just a minor thing. Just felt a bit off.
Quite painful.
So he didn't do it himself.
He doesn't do it. He doesn't believe he did it physically, but he described it as like that, like some sort of minor blackout type thing or something. Yeah. Because of that, he doesn't tell his partner this has happened. Yeah, he just keeps driving. But because of that happening, because that weird sensation he hadn't felt before. By the way, he told me that he wasn't prone to fainting or anything like that. They kept them driving along the road, and they know the route home. Yeah, so this is a route that they've driven numerous times before. They're very, very familiar with what roads they're driving along and what roads they needed to go to get home. Yeah. So they carry on driving along the road. They pass a little side turning. There was a BT van down there and this sort of thing, and they keep going about halfway between that. So they're about 3/4 of the way up this stretch of road that ends up in another island. And at that island, they would usually go off sort of northwest direction and start heading back around the outside edge of Redbourne. So they get about 3/4 of the way along this road, and that's when it happens. So all of a sudden, they realize they're not on the same road, like instantaneously. So all of a sudden, he finds himself on a much narrower road. There was a big hedge off to the left, some sort of lower hedgerows to the right. He said there was this strange effect. It was almost like looking through falling water, he said, almost like they were running, like as if somebody had ran water down the front windscreens through this. And that lasted for a couple of seconds before fading away. But he's driving down this road and he realizes it's not the same road. And he's like, where are we? Yeah. So he slows down the car a bit. The car's still going the same speed as it had been a second ago. Yeah. So we're talking about sort of 40, 45 miles an hour. Brings it down to about 30, 35. But they're still driving forward. All of a sudden, towards them ahead, it's very, very dark. But ahead of them, he sees a couple of headlights kind of come in from the right-hand side and start moving the way along the road towards him. He realizes that the road's really narrow and he's going quite fast towards this other vehicle. it's all a bit of panic as to what's going on. So he tries to swerve the car to the left, and only just narrowly manages to get past this vehicle. It goes past really, really close to the right of his car and just heads on up this road. He then reaches a right turn, still has no idea where they are, reaches a right turn, and again going quite fast, and he has to stare carefully at the curb to arc it around this turn because of the speed he's going. He's not expecting it because he doesn't know what road they're on and what to expect. Keep driving, and then there's another turn to the left. Now he remembers seeing on that first turn, he also remembers seeing an old-fashioned lamppost. This is very important. He said it looked almost like Victorian, like a weird Victorian lamppost, not a standard sort of lamppost that you would get. And then they turn to the left, and then they're driving through this wooded area. There's trees on either side, quite heavy foliage, and then they reach a T-junction. And still not knowing where they are, very confused about the whole thing, he decides to turn left onto this T-junction, and they find themselves on a wider road. Starts driving along that, and on the left there's a sign. There's a roundabout approaching, and on that sign he sees the word Southdown. He doesn't know what that is. He's not familiar with the area of Southdown, so that doesn't mean anything to him. He just remembers seeing that sign. Briefly after reaching that, they've reached this island, which the sign was about, telling them. And on that island is a sign for Redbourne. And they're like, okay, there's a Redbourne sign. And then upon seeing that sign, he realizes what roundabout they're on. It wasn't one that they'd visited all the time, but one he'd driven around numerous times before, and his partner on other occasions has also driven around this. So all of a sudden, he realizes where they are. Yeah, they grind to a halt at the roundabout to get their bearings. And they're like, there's the Redbourne sign. Okay, we're here. Here's the thing. The roundabout they were at was 1.5 miles to the east of the road that they'd been on.
What?
It gets way more. It gets way crazier than that. So
not only are they missing time, they've actually travelled to a location where they didn't really know. They're not really familiar with winding roads.
Yeah, he kind of knew of it.
But at this point, he doesn't realise there's any missing time yet. So they're just like, all of a sudden, they're on these weird roads, and then all of a sudden they realise where they are. And they realise they're on St Albans Road, which is about sort of 1.5 to 2 miles to the east of the road that they've been on the second.
Yeah.
Right.
So knowing where they are at that roundabout, he asks his wife what should we do. Now, logically, you would go left to get back closer, but his wife decides to drive straight on. At the time, he was a bit suspicious about why he'd done that, like maybe subconsciously trying to avoid what was across to the west.
Yeah.
In talking with his partner in depth about this, she said that it was the route that she'd often taken before to go north, even though it was a bit longer, right? So they take this north route. So I don't think that was anything to do with it, but initially I was suspicious that was maybe part of it as well. So they take this longer route, and it's an extra 6 minutes added to their journey, but they get back home. They're a bit confused. They stay up. He does not check any clocks when they arrive home or anything like that. They just chat about it a little bit. So that was a bit weird, ending up on that different road. And then they go to bed. In the morning, he's intrigued by what had happened the night before, so he checks the CCTV camera that they've got set up on the drive, and he can see exactly when the car arrived home. And he was absolutely certain that the clock was correct on the CCTV before anybody thinks that the clock was wrong. He says that they should have arrived at home about 9:57, and the time they arrived home was about 10:22. So there's he thinks about 25 minutes later than they should have arrived back home, taking into account the extra 6 minutes that he'd added on, for this different route that they'd gone down, because as I said, they know the roads, they knew the layout of the roads, and they knew where they were after that point. It was just this confusion when they came back around on this other road and didn't know where they were. Yeah.
Which is disorientating at the best of times.
Absolutely, yeah. So later on that same day, he reaches out to his friend on text message. He sent me screen grabs of those text messages, so that's not just hearsay. He sent me the actual text messages where he's talking to his friend saying, this is really weird, this weird thing happened, we ended up on this other road. And you can see he's kind of genuinely perplexed by what's happened, and his friend joking around a bit. And that goes backwards and forwards, that communication over a number of days. But at the same time, he also is intrigued to go back out there to see if he can find the exact position where they come round, because he couldn't remember it. It was all a bit panicky, and it was dark and everything, and it was like, where were we? Now they knew where they'd ended up with the sign. They knew the round where they'd been on St Albans Road, but the roads leading up to that, they were
How did they get there?
Yeah. How did they get there? Now, off to the west side of St Albans, there's it's a housing estate, a relatively new housing estate with a maze of roads and this sort of thing. Yeah. And he started to drive around this housing estate trying to locate the position where he would have found himself. Yeah. And here's the thing, he drove around all the roads and he couldn't find the position yet. Nothing fitted yet in terms of the layout and remembering what was there and this sort of thing. Yeah. Now, eventually, he did find one of the roads, West Road, and it essentially found the lamppost, but it wasn't in the position that he remembered it. He remembered it being on the first corner to the right, and it was actually on the second corner round to the left. There's an triangular area of grass with this lamppost. He remembered it being a full-sized Victorian-style old lamppost, like Narnia or whatever.
You get the decorative ones, don't you?
Right, yeah. That's what it was. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a decorative one. And he's found the lamppost, but the actual lamppost is actually a lot shorter. Yeah, it's sort of half-sized lamppost in the area of this grass. But it must have been that what he saw, because we looked around all the other roads in the area. Now, I said, could you go and have a look again? Because this, months on, we move forward to now. And I said, could you get down there? Because I really want to try and find the position where this was. He obliged openly. He was absolutely intrigued as to what happened. And we're trying to piece it together, He actually contacts me on video call from those roads, So there's no denying at all that he's completely perplexed by this. If you were trying to sell a fake story, let's say you'd made up this false story and you, for whatever reason, wanted to tell me some false story, you would have the details clear. You'd be like, we came round and we were here and there was a UFO and there was aliens outside. And there's none of that. He's like, what's going on here?
Over detailed, wouldn't it? It'd be too much detail. Yeah.
He doesn't even know what happened. Yeah. So he's driving that and he contacts me on video camera, from the car, not while it's driving. Obviously, he pulled over, But he's like, I could just tell he was like totally perplexed. And he was like, I can't find it. I've gone around all the roads. I can't find it. It's not right. I was like, well, you found the lamppost, so surely it's got to be that road. And he's like, no, it doesn't look right yet. So anyway, I started delving into this in great depth. Yeah, here's the thing. This is what's really fascinating with this. Down the western side, you've got this all these cul-de-sacs and this sort of thing, this housing estate.
Yeah.
Now, it's got to have been one of those roads, right? Because he turned left on the T-junction onto St Albans, heading north, finds the roundabout. So we know it's got to have been one of those to turn left. You must have been on the west side, right?
Yeah.
And his missus also correlates. It was the left-hand side and a left turn onto that road. So it wasn't any of the roads.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is it near the golf course?
No, there's not a golf course. Not
right. No, I'm thinking the other side. It's all right. No, it's right. Because I know St Albans quite well. I've not been for a while.
Oh, this is way up from St Albans, though. Yeah, this is a good drive north. So
this is
closer to the south of Redbourne.
Right. Now I'm thinking more central. Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on. I'm just trying to picture it. That's all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
it's been a while since I've been back home. So.
So I looked into all these roads and I'm seeing them because I can obviously see them on Google Images and Google Street View. I don't actually need to drive down there myself. And obviously he was also having me on video call and that sort of thing. So I was seeing some of it then as well firsthand and this sort of thing. And I was looking around and it's got to be West Avenue. It's got to be West Road. So there's four of them. There's four of these lanes. Here's the thing: none of those roads link up with the roads to the west.
So how did he get from A to B?
Yeah. Here's the thing: in order to have got where he got, this is crazy. Yeah. In order to have got where he got, let's say he drove there, right? Let's put out the question that the fact that his wife's in the car next to him. Yeah. Let's say he zones out, right? For some reason.
As you do when driving sometimes.
Right. Let's say it's drink spike. Well, that's highway hypnosis. Yeah. So there's numerous problems which I go into as to the reason why I don't think it's that. Yeah. But okay, what he would have had to have done, he would have had to continue driving, turn right, drive about 2 miles eastwards, drive south down St Albans, like turn right at that roundabout where they found himself, drive south, drive into the cul-de-sac, turn the car around at the end of the road, and then speed it back up to the speed that they were going when they were to the west.
Yeah, autopilot. You normally end up going the same way you normally
just keep going straight.
You
do, yeah.
Yeah, because you know where you're going.
Or you end up
That's
going
the whole
somewhere where you normally drive and you're not going that way, and you say, "Oh bugger, I've gone the wrong way," because
muscle
autopilot.
memory.
Yeah,
muscle memory. That's what it is.
But if you put out that other question, let's say if he was in the car by himself, yeah. I mean, you know, his friend on the text message is saying, "Oh, your drink was spiked," and this. He was just joking around, yeah. But let's say his drink was spiked or whatever, and he zoned out for a number of minutes and randomly starts driving down random roads, and for whatever reason drives into the road and turns the car around and then speeds it back up, and then all of a sudden he comes round, yeah, right. This all falls apart by the fact that there's two witnesses. Yeah, his wife's in the car, in the passenger seat next to him. Don't you think that she, right, if it had started doing that, yeah, she would have logically told him, "Where are you going? Why are you driving east?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah,
why are you going?
Why are you going that way?"
Yeah.
Except both of them have the same block in memory. Now, the things different between the two witnesses is the husband. He got that weird sensation before it happened. And he also was talking about this thing that looked like running water. He described it as almost like two pieces of glass put together at right angles with water running down. And that vanished after 2 or 3 seconds. He said it was like that, yeah, like looking through two pieces of glass.
Yeah.
And it faded fast. But his wife doesn't remember that. Yeah. So she doesn't remember that, and she doesn't remember the other sensation, nor did she see the light, but that was off to the right. That might not have been anything. I'm not saying that was anything, yeah. But it could have been, right? Yeah. It could have been linked with it. We don't know. But yeah, so she didn't get those sensations. So you might think, okay, those sensations were an indication of him having some sort of fainting fit, right?
Or seizure or something like that.
Which would make logical sense if it was just him in the car. You could piece that together. You could be like, okay, he had something go wrong in his mind, whatever. And that's what that sensation was. And then he blacks out and he drives and then he comes around. If he was in the car by himself, but she was there and those sensations didn't occur to her. So therefore they can't be something to do with that.
If he's blacked out, you're not going to be able to continue driving. As you know, I drive for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I feel...
Yes.
Even when I feel a little bit faint, I'll like wake myself up, or I'll pull over and just have a minute.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be able to carry on driving if you've blacked out. Not a chance.
If you're in a fugue state, like an epileptic state, you'd crash because you just go
exactly. Yeah. And this was multiple. This wasn't a straight road. This was like multiple turns around roundabouts and things. And he would have had to literally driven in the way that. The only way to get into that position, because it's a cul-de-sac, the end of a cul-de-sac is where he came around. He must have, because even I believe that he got the lamppost in the wrong position, I think, because of the confusion. It remained in his mind because he's like, oh, a lamppost, yeah. So he remembered it, but didn't remember the exact position. Now his wife remembered it on the second turn, so she got the position right, yeah. And that was a discrepancy between their two.
We're good backseat drivers. If you're going the wrong way, we're going to pull you on. It's like, why are you going that way? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, we do. Yeah. I'm sorry, we do. Women, we do. And,
and you remember
the ain't just women.
He remembered the wooded area, and the wooded area fits. The end of West Road. There's a heavily wooded area just before the T junction. So it was right. It fitted. Yeah. But the corners aren't right yet. The corners are a lot more gradual. But again, I put that down to panic, dark. Oh, there's a turn. Yeah. It was a lot more gradual than what he remembered. He laid out a map for me. He drew out what he remembers for the vehicle, the oncoming vehicle, and this sort of thing. And because of these gradual turns, I was like, this doesn't look right. It looks half right. Now, here's the thing, yeah. There's an adjoining road, the other road just south of it, the second road out of the 4 that I looked into in depth to see if we had the right road. And it's just south, right? So in theory, you could have missed the entrance to West, and it could have been the second one. But I looked into that, and there was all sorts of problems with that. Like there was no big hedge or anything. There was lots of things that didn't fit, and there wasn't the lamppost yet. But I managed to trace out an almost exact replica of his map by driving along a path that links those two roads. So the path goes straight south and it joins the two roads together. Yeah. For a period of about an hour, I thought I worked it out. I thought, okay, on that second turn, you didn't turn left. You carried on driving straight because it's dark and you're panicking, and you accidentally drive along this path thinking it's a narrow road. And then you get to the second road and then you turn left on the second road. That would have made the rough kind of S shape that he was remembering. And I was like, I've got it. I've nailed it. Yeah. I thought that for a bit, for a period of about 20 minutes. Then I went looking at this in depth, and I found out there's a post, a solid metal post halfway along the path, which his car would have blatantly ran into. So
blocking the road.
So then you're like, okay, well, what about if the post wasn't there at that time? But here's the thing: Google Images shows that the post has been in there since 2023 because the copyright image on Google Street View is 2023 and the post is there visible, which means that it was there. So unless you go down some ridiculous route of saying that they temporarily happened to remove the post and then put it back after the point, you can always find answers, but it gets to the point.
Or they just materialize through it or dematerialize through it.
I mean,
it gets ridiculous, doesn't it? With all the answers to why it isn't what we suspect it is.
Yeah. So I think it's a lot more logical that it wasn't sharp corners; it was these gradual corners, and he just misinterpreted them and thought they were a lot sharper than they were.
Yeah.
But you're still left with all these elements. You're left with the fact that the car had seemingly teleported from one position to another. Yeah. Or had it been picked up? So I've dealt with numerous abduction cases where people have been inside vehicles and have actually seen the vehicle lift off the ground surrounded by a beam of light. So usually with abduction cases, people think the people get taken directly. They float sometimes through the windows, sometimes through the ceiling. Sometimes they might be outside and just get lifted up. Sometimes there might not even be a light. They might just sort of feel themselves floating upwards and might see a craft. There's variations, and there's no one thing that happens 100% of the time with these things. But there's just a lot of similarities. So I've dealt with other cases where people have been inside vehicles and believe that they were taken inside their entire vehicle. There's other cases where people have been taken inside car seats and that sort of thing, like their daughter's been taken with them and she's in her car seat, so they've taken her strapped into the seat. Yeah. The cars. So
one way to get around the ULEZ charge.
Which kind of essentially links to absolutely. It sort of links back to Close Encounters and the classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind where they find the boat in the desert and all that. Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. So there's these cases where that appears to have happened. So let's say it does. Let's say they get abducted together inside their vehicle. The vehicle gets picked up. It gets put back down. It's inside some sort of time bubble, so the car doesn't slow down. It goes the same speed, and they end up in exactly the same position. We've seen that again and again and again with cases, and I understand that some of this stuff sounds really wild, but when you see it again and again with cases where people move, but they're still moving, they're not like the ground to a halt or anything, they'll come around and they'll still be cycling or still driving or whatever. But it's almost like they're removed from reality and then they're put back in exactly the same position they were, or sometimes a different position. So if it's exactly the same position, but then I've dealt with other cases where they've moved. Literally, there's another one I was going over just the other month. It was almost a spitting image of this one. But the fascinating thing about this particular case, not only the fascination by the witness to try to work out what happened. We've just got all this stuff. We can look at it on a map. We can work it out exactly where they would have come round, where they must have come round. And the fact that it's a cul-de-sac is absolutely wild.
You'd remember doing a 3-point turn or trying to, as we were talking about, the other night, Andy, when you were trying to park,
Don't need to bring that up.
I was sat there waiting for 10 minutes for,
I drive an estate car and it was the tiniest gap that I was getting into, and obviously, I drive for a living, so I was making sure I wasn't going to prang anything, and it took me a while.
It did.
With the amount of space that I had, impatient people waiting to park up.
I thought there was another woman in the car. I didn't realise it was a bloke. He was taking that long to park.
And that's me knowing what I'm doing. So if you've blacked out, there's not.
It doesn't make any sense.
Nothing whatsoever.
Because of the two witnesses in the car, you can't, unless you assume that for some reason the both of them blacked out at exactly the same moment, and then he manages to somehow drive to this new location, speed the car back up, and they both happen to come out of that at exactly the same moment. I mean, at what point do you have to say that's not what happened here?
It's like a random apple, isn't it? Really, they've just kind of been picked up and then placed somewhere else.
So now it's just in cases quite a lot where people are put back. They're put back in different places. Some of the most famous cases on record that's happened. Where
what gets me though,
and come back.
Is when they put them back down, they're still travelling at the same speed. So time, like you said, time has been removed for them from that reality,
Yeah.
or something has been frozen.
Yes.
For them to be put back and then to be safely be able to carry on doing what they're doing after the event, that's going to take some doing just on its own, if nothing.
Absolutely.
Disregard everything else at the moment, but for them to be put back and to be doing the exact same thing what was doing the moment it was taken, that's mind blowing on its own.
Well, yeah, because you're driving. I mean, yes, you can muscle memory, you can like, zone out when you're driving, you're concentrating. But if you're put back and then on a different road where it's windy and still having that mental capability,
still having that knowledge.
But
then if you've been you have been taken, say you have been abducted and experimented on. Yeah. To have all that, be put back in the car, have no knowledge of it, and then just, we're on the wrong road.
So that's missing time.
Have the ability, to whatever's done it, to have the ability to cause all that butterfly effect is just mind blowing, regardless of anything else that's gone on.
I mean, having the cognitive capability to be driving again after that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. So you see this again in case after case. Yeah, it's not all the time, but missing time occurs a lot. But missing time in sort of vehicle cases. I've dealt with a number over the years, and the patterns are always there. And you can sometimes put it down to highway hypnosis, but I believe from the facts of what happened with this. Now, he's tried all he can to get some extra information. The husband even went back to the garage to ask if they had CCTV so he could get the exact point. Because they would have captured their car driving past the garage. But here's the thing: he went in there and he asked for the footage, and you can imagine how that went down. So they wouldn't hand over the footage because they were like, "What do you want the CCTV from my garage for?" And he didn't go
to make sure we drove past when we did drive past.
Yeah, but he probably thought he wanted it for nefarious reasons.
Of course.
So he wouldn't hand over the footage. So that was a bit of a dead end there. But the fact that he was doing that, the fact that he's looking for that, it shows that he's trying to find answers himself.
Yeah.
He's been completely rational with it.
Yeah.
He's totally mystified by it. I don't believe it was highway hypnosis. I think there's because you would have logically driven down the normal route home automatically. People do that all the time. We've all done that at some point. Yeah. You go on.
I do it every day.
I know. I get the voice notes.
But I mean, because I work, I'm only 8 miles away from work. And these 3 different routes depending on how busy. Well, there's probably 4 or 5, but there's 3 that I use depending on traffic. So I don't have to think as I'm driving. It's like I just know which route I'm going to go on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't. Do you know what I mean?
You either do that if you're really bored. Hence, highway hypnosis. So it's called that because a lot of people get it on the motorway because it's really boring. It's really straight.
Yeah.
But that doesn't apply here because there's lots of turns. So you'd have to pay attention. It's not like you're driving down one big long line. Yeah?
Exactly.
So there's numerous reasons why that doesn't fit. And the second witness in the car and then the fact that we've got missing time on top of that. All of that aside, what happened in the car, the fact that they've then got what they believe is 25 minutes missing time. Now, as I say, they don't have a definite proof that they left exactly at 9:30, but let's say give or take 10 minutes, that's still 15 minutes unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Even if they left a bit later.
Daft question.
Yes.
Don't suppose he won't have took note of his speedo, will he? His mileometer?
No, so I asked that. So I asked all sorts of things. I thought that maybe they would have recorded. So you've got Google location as well. So maybe his. I asked whether him and his partner had that on, but unfortunately they didn't have that switched on, so it didn't record. Because you can get exact positions where you are in particular routes through that, which would be very, very useful in this instance, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, we don't have that.
Now, you mentioned a regression therapist. Did these people actually go through with the regression therapy, and what were the results of that?
That's where we're up to at the moment. So he's planning to arrange that in the coming months. He's been very busy, so he does want to go ahead with it. His partner's not interested in being regressed, and I don't blame her. Lots of people don't want to go ahead with it.
That's it.
As I said, there is dangers with it anyway, which I'll always warn people of. But if something does come from that, I'm sure he'll keep in touch. I don't sit in on the regressions directly, but I transcribe them. So with his permission, I would transcribe it. And if anything came out from that, it would be added to the case report. The case report on the BUFOG website. So if you search for Redbourne missing time, it will come up. There's hundreds and hundreds of cases on the BUFOG website. That's got everything mapped out in granular detail. Like it's got like probably the most photographs of probably any case, because I've gone into granular depth on each of these roads and why I don't think it's that particular road and reasons certain things. And I think looking at all the facts, I think that it's very, very likely that West Road was the road he was on. But even if you say it was one of the other ones, it's still part of a housing estate. There's still no through road. To the west of the housing estate, right, is open farmers' fields. So unless you say that he decided to go off road and start driving across through hedges and things and across farmers' fields, he's got to have either gone north and get around to it, or he's going to have to go south. But if you go south, it's much, much longer before you can get through road. It's the closest route would have been north, but then he would have had to driven in the roads that he then remembered driving along just in reverse, gone in there, turned around, and then came round. Really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Has anything like this happened since to them? Because, because some people with abduction experiences and stuff like that, it can be a reoccurring thing. It's sometimes it's not just a one time. And there is a pattern forming here in these vehicle abduction cases where it does seem to follow the same sort of timeline, same sort of pattern, same sort of things that are happening. So it will be interesting to see if I'm hoping it doesn't happen to these people again, because obviously it's clear affected them. But if anything like that happens in the surrounding area, if anybody else has reports of it, if they continue to have experiences, or if anybody else in the area has experienced anything like this and would like to get in contact with you and have a similar story or a similar experience 100%. In the area.
Yes, I always welcome the people to reach out to me to speak with. I try to remain grounded. Some people, probably think that I come across quite skeptical. Sometimes I don't. I just come across. You've got to be realistic with this subject,
Yeah.
A lot of things are misidentified and misexplained as both sort of UFOs, as in I'm talking about a craft there, not just an unidentified object, right? And contact as well. So there's numerous things that can be misinterpreted as contact, which clearly aren't contact.
Yeah.
And that's only because of the complexity of the subject. But obviously, after delving into so many cases, I'll quite happily tell people if I don't believe that they've experienced.
Of course.
Whatever. You've got to be realistic with it, because otherwise you go down a rabbit hole and you'll never claw your way back out.
Yeah. I think we've got some questions, haven't we, Andy?
Of course, we can go for some questions,
You're muted, mate.
1 minute. Yes, we have questions. And the first one, dog was barking, so I've muted it. So the first one's from Stephen Collin. He's asking, did the couple experience any physical marks on their bodies at all?
So they didn't check at the time. I got them to check later on, but obviously this is almost a year on, when they got in touch. If there was a lot of the time, markings will tend to fade after a few days. Sometimes I've dealt with some cases where they've left sort of permanent scars. Sometimes with strange anomalies, but he doesn't see anything on himself now which could be interpreted. And even if you did see something, you wouldn't know whether it was from that night. Obviously, you would have had to have noticed it straight after.
Could
that.
Be from could be from anywhere.
Yeah. It's a good question though, because there is lots of cases involving body markings. It's one of the physical aspects of the subject.
I bruise myself on a daily basis. You don't notice it till days afterwards, so it's one of those, isn't it? You don't body scan yourself for new marks every day. So
until you find one.
And you get all sorts of blemishes. You get all sorts of blemishes and that sort of thing, and the bruising. So it doesn't necessarily. I mean, it can be kind of lashing out in the night and hitting your arm on something or whatever, but it's not always that. Sometimes, and sometimes you can get just depressions in the skin, that sort of thing can be misinterpreted. Again, you've got to be very, very careful. A lot of the time, what I'll look for is somebody having memories of some kind of thing going on in the night, like a contact type experience, probably a vivid one. And in the most stunning cases, people have memories of beings examining them and using some kind of instrument on them in a particular place, and then they wake up in the morning and there's a mark there. Now obviously the mundane explanation for that is psychosomatic, right? Okay, here's the thing, if we psychosomaticized all the things that happen to us in our dreams, our bodies would be wrecked in no time. Yeah?
Yes.
It doesn't really happen, right? If I have a dream and I get attacked by pirates and then one of them stabs me in the arm, I don't expect to wake up and have a sword sliced through my arm.
Unless you've got Freddy Krueger on your ass,
right, exactly. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, the pirate edition.
Johnny Depp new film.
I'm not saying there isn't cases where that has happened, by the way. Psychosomatic marks are a known scientific reality. So, but it happens too regularly with contact.
It does.
It happens too regularly for it not to, exactly the same with the missing time. One or two cases, you could just put it down to the brain. Oh, they were really traumatized by something, and they blocked it out. There's loads of cases like where that's happened, with nothing to do with contact or UFOs or anything, like people in war times where they've seen stuff and their minds blocked it out.
It's survival response. It's the brain's way of surviving.
But it happens too regularly for that to be a factor. And in some of these cases, there's numerous witnesses involved, and they've all had the same period of missing time, like in this case with the two of them. In some cases, when they do remember the things later on, they might come back to them, because otherwise, why would they get in touch with me? How would I find out about it? If they've got back in touch and they have and then remember something, a lot of the time they're not traumatized by it. They're more intrigued by it. They're more like, wow, this is really fascinating. Or they might have looked into it and they might be excited by the fact that they've had contact. They might be like, wow, I saw this UFO and then I had this later experience and there were these beings. They might be excited by that, not frightened by it. It's not, you don't always get that innate fear with it. You do with it quite a lot of the time, because there's all sorts of unusual aspects to it that a lot of the time it's very, very cryptic.
And fear of the unknown as well.
Fear of the unknown. Yeah.
I think John Darwin asked if there was a ring camera involved. Oh, there you go. I believe there was CCTV, wasn't there?
Yeah, CCTV on the front of the house. Whether that was a ring camera, I don't remember whether he told me specifically. He hasn't sent me the footage. No. I don't think it wasn't footage. It could be extracted from the camera. It's probably been overwritten now. Like I say, after speaking with the witness, especially the husband in depth, I have a lot of trust that he's the real deal, 100%. I could tell when he was contacting me on video. As I said earlier on in the chat, if you're coming up with a story, you come up with a story and you're solid about your facts. Oh, well, we're there, and then we showed up here. It was miles away, and then I looked up and there was a mothership above, and there was a light coming down. None of that. It's like I don't even know where it happened. I was like, surely you know where you came back, and he's like, no, nothing's fitting. And we've had to piece it together, which is what makes this case so fascinating.
It is, yes, it is.
Yes. It's actually triggered something that happened to me with you saying that. I'm just going to share. So when I was living in Manchester, and we was driving to Blackpool, so we was going west, ended up in Leeds. Complete opposite way on the motorway. So
I've done that before, but that's because I've got off the services and ended up in the wrong direction.
Oh, I've done that for you, yeah.
The road
usually on the way to a gig and
so the road split, so you've got to go 61 to Manchester to Blackpool, 62 to Leeds. I was on the 61 going up towards Bolton, and before I know it, I'm in pretty much Leeds town centre. And that I don't know if there's any missing time, but I don't remember, because you got to drive over Saddleworth to get to it from Manchester.
Yeah,
I know I didn't go over the moors. But
that's interesting.
Talk about that again.
You get these things. You get these things happen, and a lot of the time, people probably just brush them aside.
Yeah, you do. You just
I did.
Yeah, and you just like. You don't know how many experiences people have had where they haven't reported it, and they're just like, whatever. It's probably going on a lot more often than people give it credit for. That's what I believe. I think that what we're seeing reported is less than 5% of the cases that are actually happening, because most people keep them to themselves, don't even tell their own friends and family, let alone a UFO investigator.
There's a stigma to it, though, isn't there? And then you doubt yourself. And as Andy said, like, he didn't even recognise. He just thought he was having a blonde moment, which, to be fair, it does happen, though. It does happen. That's going to keep you awake tonight now, Andy, thinking about that, isn't it, when you ended up in Leeds?
No, because
you're mulling that over now.
Because I have thought about it a few times, and where the road splits. So I'm from Swinton in Manchester.
Yeah.
And you've got Swinton Interchange, you've got Eccles, you've got Trafford Centre, and all that. And then you go south towards the airport. And then if you go north, you go through Whitefield, Prestwich, and then you go down the Pennine Pass and you pick up, you go over the tops through Halifax, Huddersfield, and then you drop down into Leeds. Now, I would remember all, because I know that area, because obviously born, bred there, grew up there, and I know, this was like prior sat-navs and GPS and all that. So didn't have to use a map to get anywhere because I knew these places like the back of my hand. And it was like probably 35 to 50 minutes to get to either of them. They're probably about the same distance from where I'm from. But I would have remembered certain points of like, well, why am I going this way? But I didn't.
You'd have clocked it.
So I have no idea what happened that night.
It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
The stuff that goes on with it, and that's what keeps me intrigued with this subject, because I'm genuinely fascinated by these cases, and I love hearing these things firsthand from people, and also providing support for them, because a lot of the time they're getting ridiculed, or they're scared to tell their friends, or scared to tell their own spouses and this sort of thing because of what's happened to them. Now, with this case, obviously it's the couple, so they can talk, and they also got in touch with their friends from that night. But
and there's a witness to it, so it's corroboration. It's not just one person in the car.
It's a lot more difficult. Most of the time, it's individual people, and more often than not, which some people may say because of its covert nature is the way that it works. So obviously, the more people are around, the more potential witnesses. And I've dealt with loads of cases where people have seemingly been shut down, so they'll switch off other people in the vicinity again and again. Like they'll be next to their spouse and they'll try and wake them, and they'll just be shaking them and hitting them, and they won't wake up. Because they're being switched off. And there's even cases where they've done that and they're standing up, so they've seen other people kind of out in this trance-like state, sometimes staring with their eyes open, just standing there. It's wild. And it points towards their ability to control time and the nature of reality, and switch off certain people and leave other people. And it sounds wild, doesn't it? The stuff sounds like the stuff of sci-fi, and I get it. I totally get it. Why people are skeptical of this subject? Definitely. It's only when you delve into loads and loads and loads of cases and you see the similarities again and again and again. And I won't even prompt people; they'll just tell me this stuff, and I'm yep, and it's just ticking off this tick box in my head. It's wild.
It fits the pattern. Oh, fantastic. Well, that is absolutely incredible encounter. And
it's pretty interesting. There's no UFO in there. I mean, some people could say that was evidence of teleportation and nothing to do with UFOs.
Well, what for UFO? They saw that strange light, didn't they? They couldn't put it down to the garage in the end. So
that was a minor thing. I mean, it was some kind of light that you could, let's say, it could have been a farm vehicle or something like that. It could have been anything, right? He only saw it briefly, so there was no definite UFO in this. There's no being seen or anything, but the pattern fits. The pattern fits with a missing time case. That's a potential dual abduction and the vehicle being put down. The pattern fits. I'm not saying that's what it is. No, I know. I try to remain open-minded. I mean, I even looked into this potentially being a time slip. So I was like, okay, he doesn't recognize the roads. The roads are a different layout yet. And then he saw an old-fashioned lamppost. I was like, it's on the first corner. I was like, was he having some sort of time slip? I looked into that. But later on, it seemed more obvious that the lamppost that he'd seen was that smaller lamppost further down the same road.
But didn't he see a sign as well that he didn't recognise the name of?
The signs I've got. That's Southdown. That's there. I've got that on. We've got that. That's the sign.
That exists.
Yeah, the sign that exists, and the turning at the T junction. As soon as he's on St Albans, we know where he was. We just don't know which road he turned out of. But it's very, very likely it was West Road, which is the nearest one to that roundabout. You'll see it all in the report, mapped out in detail. And I'm sure that most people reading that are going to reach the same conclusions that I did regarding where it happened. There's even the hedge there on. You talked about them seeing a laurel hedge to the left-hand side. Both him and his wife remember that, and that's there. That's there down West End. Now there are other laurel hedges, but there's other on other roads in that housing estate. But there's other things that don't fit, like speed bumps or no turns, or some big stone pillars he doesn't remember seeing. So, and the lamppost, that's the only place, that's the only road with an old-fashioned lamppost on it, from what I can see looking around. So it seems logical it was that, but. How it happened, we don't know.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
So hopefully
you'll have to
go
keep
for
us
the regression.
updated.
Yes, do
Yeah.
please do. And if they are happy to have their experiences spoken about after the regression, then please do keep us updated. If not, just that's perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, it is an experience to go through, and it can be very, very, very distressing, very disorientating, and just generally alarming, because you're not in control of your own body, you're not in control of your own vehicle, and there's nothing more, I wouldn't say scary, but there's nothing more unnerving than not having that control within yourself, that self.
But
it's what leads people to believe that this is malicious. Now, I don't tend to go down that route. I find the whole thing to be quite neutral, almost like some kind of experiment, and they're watching us over long periods of time, decades,
or preventing them from having a car accident. You never know; they could have actually interceded into something.
There's certainly cases I've dealt with where the experiencer appears to have been given some kind of protection from unknown forces. And a lot of the time it will be some kind of telepathic hint, like they hear a voice in their head, don't go out today, turn left here, that sort of thing, and then a car accident's occurred. I've dealt with numerous cases where that's happened. And there's definitely a psychic element with contact as well. So,
or you can't find something because it's apported and you know where you've put it, but it's gone, and then you spend 10 minutes looking for it. You find it to realise you just missed a major pile-up if you'd have gone out at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I was going to say as well with that couple, I'm sure that they're going to be thinking every time they go out for a drive now, is something else going to happen?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's only happened once to his knowledge. And maybe there's been other things. Maybe on that same night, and this is why I put out the reports, because sometimes we've literally had new witnesses come forward because of the report. Because the Big Fog site's linked into Google, and it's been there a good while. So the reports go out on Google searches, so people might type in Redbourne 2025, whatever, and it'll come up. And they'll be like, oh my God, I was there that night and I saw this other thing elsewhere. And it could be the same thing. And then I'll get in touch. I'll be like, I was in that vicinity. I saw this object. And we've actually had cases where that's happened. It's really great when that happens, because in a way, it kind of justifies the amount of time and effort I put into writing the reports and getting it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very easy to write a sightings report, to get a sightings report form off a witness. There's no effort. You just put that out on the website. And a lot of groups, they do that. They gather information and they hoard it, and it ends up in some sort of filing cabinet, virtual filing cabinet somewhere, never to see the light of day. Every single case, whether it's a small light in the distance or whether it's a full-blown close encounter, is a story. It's a story to be told with evidence supporting or not supporting it. And I like to document all that with maps and drawings and everything I can, not to push like this is real. You'll find reports on the website where I've determined that it's probably a drone or probably Chinese lanterns. If you go back to 2008, 2010 sort of times, the early years of the group, you'll find loads of orange orb sightings. And many of those will be in the conclusion. Will say, I believe that this is very likely to be Chinese lanterns,
but now they've been banned, so you don't get so much now.
They're not banned, but they're not banned, but they don't like.
They should be. They should be. The fire risk and the danger to animals as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been absolutely fascinating and amazing to talk to you today, Dave. And that's just blown my mind a bit. Really, it's just trying to get my head around that. So
I need to go for a drive around St Albans. I really do.
Make sure you come back, mate.
I'll come back. But it's not too. I just want to see like the locations because, like I said, I know a lot of that area. And I just want to get in my head where there was, and
it's all on the site. If you get a case report, I've laid out all the routes that they would have taken and roughly how long it would have taken them to get some places.
It's about 40 minutes from me, so it's easy enough to get to. Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the short notice.
No problem.
With an amazing account.
Yes, I'm perplexed.
as was I.
I'm speechless, which Andy knows doesn't happen very often.
No, I'm pretty much speechless as well. It's one of those, like you said, could it be time slip? Could it be an abduction? Could it be a portal? We don't know. It could be anything.
The time slip doesn't work for me because if the road layout was different, because a time slip's visual. A time slip's only visual. It's not physical, right? So unless you say it went back in time, Time travel, maybe, and it doesn't really fit, because if it's time travel, you wouldn't have modern day signs and modern day Laurel Hedge and this sort of thing.
No,
so it doesn't really work. I looked into it as a possibility, but I think the most likely explanation is they reappeared. Yeah, they ended up there, and at the end of facing east, at the end of that cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, definitely not a blackout.
No, it's I don't know what to categorize that. Missing time.
Too much detail for it to be a blackout.
Yeah, far too much detail. And they would have crashed as well. They wouldn't have been able to navigate that and end up A to B. And if it was a fugue state, or I don't think it was.
They would have both had to have that fugue state at the same time.
Yeah, they would. Which
is extremely
and the wife would have been, where the frick are you going, love? Home's that way. What are you doing? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you to all the new subscribers that we've got this evening. Really do appreciate it. We are now not on podcast. We're not on Spotify. We're not on Apple. We are only on YouTube. So you cannot find us anywhere else as of today. So that is everything. Anything you want to add, Dave, before we do one?
I just want to wish all your listeners a very happy Christmas and New Year. And also, anybody's welcome to come down the group anytime if you're in the Birmingham area, or if you want to travel. So on the main page, on the main site, bufog.com front page, you'll see details of upcoming talks. We've actually got a cryptozoology talk in January, as Andy said. Sometimes we branch out into other areas. We've got Richard Freeman, well-known cryptozoologist. He's going to talk about real-life dragon sightings.
Really,
So it should be an interesting one to kick off the year.
He's a good lad, Richard Freeman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
So keep a look out, and you're more than welcome to come on down. And if any of you had experiences you want to go over with me, just get in touch. And it doesn't have to get turned into a case report. We can keep it just private, just for a chat. I'm not like a journalist that will just jump on things and just put it all out there. It's not like that at all. So do get in touch.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. We've hit the 1 hour mark. Thanks again to Dave. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abbie. Great discussion. Discussion in the chat as well. I will be back with Nicole on Wednesday when we're doing our first Encyclopedia of the Unknown. That is the only one that's going to be live. After that, there are going to be pre-recorded. We are back on Friday. Abby's not going to be with us. We have got Gwendolyn Purcell coming on, and we do have.
Say hello to Gwen for me.
I will. We do have a flip of 2 new temporary guest co-hosts that are going to be dipping in and out at different times. Both very well known and both great people. I'll tell you they are off air, but you guys will find out on Friday. So have a wonderful 2 days. We will see you on Wednesday 8:30, not 7:30. It's just Mondays is 7:30. And Wednesday and Friday 8:30. So that's it. Cheers, Dave. Cheers, everyone else, and see you guys very, very soon. Ta-ra.
Goodbye.